Hello again, everybody. It's Plowboy's Ghost Channel. Today I'm going to show you something that should not exist. And by saying it should not exist, I don't mean the Smith & Wesson Model 5741 Magnum. Although a few gun writers back in the day tried to claim that this was something that shouldn't exist, that it was pointless, etc., they were wrong. I love that cartridge, love that gun. What should not exist is not your run-of-the-mill everyday, which is not very common, 41 Remington Magnum ammunition, which is a SAMI-spec, SAMI-recognized cartridge in mass production. It's not near as popular as 357, it's not near as popular as 44, but for those who know, they know 41 Magnum is an awesome cartridge, does awesome things, has a lot of attributes that make it worthwhile and make it something that once you've discovered it, once you've gone down that road, you're probably going to love it and you're probably going to be a fan of it for life. What should not exist, this is a box of factory loaded HSM. Maybe you can read the end of it there. I'm not imagining this. This is 41 special, and the brass is 41 special brass. I've not even took it out of the package yet, but I have seen it in person. Here is what we're looking at. I'll step over here because I keep putting the camera further in front of me. Let's see if I can get them even. Set them down even. As you can see, the special over here is definitely shorter than the 41 Magnum on this side. So this is literally, honest to goodness, a factory loaded wildcat. I'm calling it a wildcat because 41 special, like I said, is not a SAMI-recognized cartridge. Starline offers brass for it, but now y'all probably noticed that I went and bought a box of factory loaded ammo, and that's something I very rarely do. I have been watching. I've got a bunch of 41 Magnum loaded, and I've still got hundreds of rounds of hundreds of pieces of brass to load. But I've been watching Starline. Right now, the 41 Magnum is available and shipping. Starline's not even taking back orders for 41 special. Starline does make the brass, but it is not available right now, and I don't know when it's going to be available again. So, since my local dealer had got in 3 boxes of this HSM Cowboy 41 special load, I went ahead and spent way too much, but you know, nothing's cheap nowadays, but it was worth every bit of it, you know, a little over 50 bucks. But I've got not only the first loading to shoot when I feel like it, but I've got 50 pieces of brass to shoot for a long time. And if Starline doesn't make any more, doesn't ever turn it out anymore, it's still in their catalog online, then at least I've got this 50. And yes, you can cut down 41 Magnum brass and, you know, and do that if you want to have the length of 41 special, but I wanted the head stamp to say 41 special. It's kind of a want thing. Yes, people do download 41 Magnum, but, you know, in a shorter case, if you're going for reduced loads, reduced power, in a shorter case, you actually get a little bit more efficiency out of the shorter case than you do out of putting a light load in a longer case. At least that's my understanding. So there's probably some good reasons, ballistically speaking, to have the special case if you're wanting special power. So what, you know, I'm not going to go deep into the history because I don't read as much as some people do. It bothers my eyes too much, to be honest with you. Do a lot of reading on screen, and the older I get. But it's my understanding that in the beginning, when in the 60s, mid-60s, when Elmer Keith and Bill Jordan, and to some degree with the help of Skeeter Skelton, and I don't want to leave anybody out or diminish somebody's role in it, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know some of the other players' roles in it. The original idea, in my understanding, was for a police load, essentially, for something to fall between 357 Magnum and 44 Magnum. And what they got this was, in the Magnum era. It's golden age of Magnum era. Well, one of the golden ages. We're kind of in one now too, if you like, even bigger stuff. But what they ended up getting was more of a closer to 44 Magnum. And while that is sure enough a stopper, guaranteed full throttle 41 Magnum is going to be a stopper on just about any problem you're ever going to have in North America between 2 legs, 4 legs, or maybe even 4 wheels or more. I don't know. It was still probably just a little much for the legal departments of the attorneys of a lot of police departments and organizations and municipalities and states and whatever, I figure. So 41 Magnum never really caught fire like it should have. I theorize, this is just one lay person who don't really know much, y'all know that by now listening to me. I theorize that since, when they introduced this, and originally I think they wanted a 200 grain bullet, somewhere around 1,000, maybe 1,100 at most foot per second, something like that. And they ended up getting full throttle 41 Magnum, which, if I'm not mistaken, was about a 210 grain bullet, doing about 1,500 foot per second. They housed it in an end frame. I love an end frame. Nothing wrong with this. All you have to do is tote a Red Hawk for a while or an Anaconda for a while to realize that an end frame is actually a pretty handy gun. It's actually fairly light, fairly nimble compared to those 2 others. At least that's my take on it. But, here they gave officers, a full throttle Magnum that was barely below 44 Magnum that was still in a full-size gun. So it kind of had a double whammy against it. If that's not what they were looking for, was the heavy full-size end frame, and if on top of that the caliber was more than they really wanted, then, and I know they offered 2 loadings for it, but I don't know how common the second lower powered loading was for it or whatever. Now this one, I theorized that if Smith & Wesson had not only made the Model 58, and of course I love the Model 57, but if they had not made it the way that they did, or if they had also offered, let's say, an L-frame size gun and 41 Special at the velocities that this is advertised at, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going off of what I read. If I'm not mistaken, this is a 200 and, let me look at it again because y'all, I didn't pay attention. A 210 grain semi-wad cutter. If I'm not mistaken, this one was at 950-ish feet per second. That ought to take care of a whole lot of issues and a whole lot of problems. That actually is that's a pretty good balance right there in a lot of ways. And I think that would be, with proper bullet design, would be far superior to anything that in a cast bullet, or in hollow point bullets. If they got it all to work just right and something that would expand if they wanted it just that way, I think the potential was there. Rambling, ain't I? I think the potential was there for 41 Special to, in the 1960s, mid-1960s, if they had made 41 Special and put it in an L-frame size gun, I believe that it would have pretty much the next 2 or 3 decades of police use would have, well, over the next two decades anyway, would have swapped from 38 Special to 41 Special. I believe a lot more would. I believe that cartridge would have caught fire. The gun would have caught a lot more fire than it did. Instead of in 41 Magnum form being pushed as a police caliber police gun, it almost fell into obscurity. You might say that it almost died out, but here it is today, and at the very least, Henry is making a lever gun in it, and you can still buy a new Smith & Wesson classic Model 57 6-inch, 6.5, whichever it is. I think it's 6, and you can buy a new Black Hawk in it. And there may be others. It hasn't been that long ago that Taurus offered a small carryable 41 Magnum. The Charter Arms Charter Arms offered a bulldog size gun in 41 Magnum. There's actually a test. I can't remember the name of the channel that does it, but you can find it pretty easy. Did a test on it, and it didn't seem like they were too happy with the recoil. But y'all, and there were a few other companies that put out a 41 Magnum and a carryable gun. Smith & Wesson did one in I think they actually call it the Model 357. How would that be for confusing? And sort of a lightweight, might have been a scandium titanium. I don't recall, so don't quote me on that. But 41 Magnum has been in a lot of guns, Red Hawks. It's been in quite a few things. Desert Eagles, BFR. And for me, it's a cartridge that's not going to die. But now I know this is not just about 41 Magnum, but when my local dealer got these 41 specials in stock, like I said, don't normally buy factory loaded ammunition. But I really honestly don't know if HSM or any other company for that matter will ever put out a factory loaded 41 special again. So at the very least, I think it's an oddity. I think it's a rarity. Let's use the word rare. And if I had a chronograph, we would check it, see what it runs and all that good stuff. But maybe in the new year, maybe that's what we're going to do. Let's study on getting a chronograph and doing a few things, figuring out a few things too. I don't want to be one of those channels that just goes with all ballistic gelatin and chronograph data, and that's every video until everybody's like, oh, okay, isn't this the same one they've done like 400 times? Don't want to do that. But I may come up with something, may come up with a chronograph and give y'all a little more interesting details to back up what I'm telling you about. There it is. 41 Magnum, 41 Special. Once these are gone, well, as soon as I shoot any of them, I'm going to use those probably with universal powder or something like that, which I consider pretty close to unique, and I use it almost like you would use a unique, or I do use it like you would use unique, but almost with interchangeable data in some calibers, some bullet weights. But once these are shot, at least I've got 44 Special brass. And hey, if Starline offers 41 Special, if Starline offers 41 Special brass again, if they make another run of it, I can guarantee you I'm going to order some. Probably another 500 pieces, or 500 pieces, not another. Anyway, y'all, 41 Special, what do y'all think? I think it's worth a shot. Won't take the place of 41 Magnum for me, but it'd be nice to have too. And I think 41 Special, 50 years ago, a little over 50 years ago, I believe that 41 Magnum would have enjoyed I believe it would have enjoyed a different level of popularity, an increased level of popularity for the versatility. Anyway, like I said, what do y'all think? Talk to y'all later.